like sucking, but I ain't gay.
Legit bad podcast.
Fuck those honkies.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
He really knows how to suck a wiener. Welcome back to Legit Bat. We got Daniel Diaz in here tonight. Did I say that right? Diaz?
Yes, sir. You did.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, it's Diaz with an S, though. Yes, just the difference.
Yeah. I did mention on last night's show that we were going to do a giveaway. So we have this company that I wanted to sponsor us, but they politely declined. I don't know why. It could be because of
Boner.
or it could be because of, I don't know what it is, which if it was balls or boner, but they did send me a bunch of free shit. So we're going to do a review giveaway. So this only applies to Apple Podcasts, unfortunately, because they're the only ones with reviews. But anybody who's on Apple, leave us a review, and it has to be a 5-star rating. You can say whatever you want, but it has to be 5 stars. If it's 1 star, you're not going to get the shit. Anyway, this company is an electrolyte supplement, and I was going to try it out because I drink a lot, and I want to see if it helps hangovers. And so we got enough to try it out and give our review on their product, and also to send some out. So send us your funniest review. And if you're not on Apple, I actually thought of this too. You can just send us an email of what you would say in your review instead, or a DM to Instagram or whatever. So legitbatpod@gmail. Send us your funniest or rudest review. I'll take whatever you want. But anyway, we'll get into the show tonight. It's Daniel Diaz. He's the author of a new book that just came out. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about this book? It sounds very interesting.
What? Thank you, guys. What is up, friends? So, my friends, I'm Daniel Diaz, guys. I wrote a book called Who Would Have Thought? A Server with PTSD Story. So, it's about a server with undiagnosed PTSD. So, he doesn't know he has the PTSD, and he's going to work at the new restaurant he's working at, and he's getting triggered. And the thing is, he thinks he's going crazy because he doesn't know, he's not aware that he has the PTSD. And then he is just having these bad thoughts. And then he's introduced to cannabis by his coworkers. And that he become aware of himself through smoking the plant. And then he's like, okay, it's not what I think it is. I can actually handle this, through being aware of it. And he starts handling the disease, therefore changing the entire course of his life. Just like think about it, right? Imagine if you have a disease you didn't know you have, and that disease is controlling the outcome of your life. That's, I think, what is up with society and this social media thing we have going on. Nobody really knows what is happening with our, pathology and all this kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah, that's the social media thing is it's like a vaccine experiment almost, where they just kind of pushed it out there and they're like, we'll see what happens in 20 years. And I think kids are more fucked up now than they ever have been. Because I know I was a fucked up kid, but not in the way they are now. The kids now,
exactly, yeah, right.
It's madness.
But at least as kids, we grew up in a time where you kind of had to face your problems. And now kids don't have to face any problems. So if you have some sort of condition, if you have PTSD, as an adult, like as us, we can kind of figure that out because we're like, okay, we have the means to actually work on that instead of shoving it all down into nothing and just watching TikTok videos all day. And that's what kids do now.
You could do that too, but yeah.
Right. Yes. I think the problem is everybody's thinking about what everyone else is doing, right? Nobody's focusing on, like going inward. So you're seeing all these copycats coming out, so you do trends, you do this, you do that. You're looking for what the other person is doing so you can then do that. Oh, she has at least 1 million followers more than me. So that's how you go with like comparing stuff. Oh, I'm gonna do what she's doing instead of me stopping a second and then creating my own stuff. Like actually going to a process where you're gonna figure it out. Like that your DNA, your different is gonna come along when you do that process. But we do not do that anymore. We just look, okay, this is what she's doing. I'm not gonna do that, and then that is like a sea. Yeah. Where I see what everybody's drowning, right? It's weird.
Yeah, because everybody's assigning value to themselves based on how other people look at them.
Yeah. So we lose the like inward work that you should do to figure out who you are, just to go and prove what everyone else, is doing. Things that will not last in the long run. We're looking for just the dopamine shot or whatever it is. So I wrote the book literally because I think there's not a book out there right now that reports to you what everyone else is going in society. Like there's no book that is talking about the social media issues. We all have friends that want to be influencers. There's no running from it. We all know somebody that has OnlyFans that is having some sort of experience with those websites, and they're making a living. They're doing this. They're doing things that were like 10 years ago. It's not even that long. It wasn't possible. So we actually going through a period of society that is transforming the way we actually behave, right? So I want to, like, with the book, give a narrative so you can figure out, because that's what my character does. So to, like, long story short, I think PTSD, we all have a micro PTSD nowadays. Whenever you go to places, you can definitely feel it right in the person next to you. So there is like a sort of a hyper awareness of themselves, that the way they want to be seen, right?
Right.
Is weird because the soul force is not natural as nature is. I think there is a discrepancy between people now. It's
Yeah.
fucked up.
And what Jen was saying about the or what you were saying too about looking at people, oh, he has 1 million followers and he's doing this thing, so I should probably do that too, so I can get 1 million followers. It's probably not that much different than it was, 20 years ago, with people looking at movie stars and rock stars the same way. It's just way more in your face now. They're
Yeah,
average people. So I think that's the difference, is that for the most part, like YouTube stars and things like that, they're just normal people. So it gives you this idea,
Well, there's a lot less work involved
yeah,
in
I
being
can be
a
famous
YouTube
too.
star. To try to be a famous musician, you have to be super talented. You have to practice that instrument or work with your voice every single day. But to be a YouTube influencer, you just have to be kind of funny and be in the right place at the right
No,
time.
you don't even
yeah,
have to
yeah.
do
Like,
that.
right. I mean, there's a sort of like a disconnection from reality itself, because you're literally, let's say there are levels to this, right? So there are people, they're literally on their phone right now. They could manifest, I don't know, a protest. Like, just think about that for 1 second. A guy could pick it up his phone and then make a video saying, "Hey, I want everybody on Washington Square right now, and let's do this and that." And he's gonna, like, just by that video alone, he's gonna have at least 1,000 people there, because he
Oh
has
yeah.
like 50 million followers. So it's unprecedented, this kind of power to one person that was like a nobody, right? So we're still learning to deal with this. I compare this, if you go to a thought process, you can compare it to the cigarettes in the 70s. Because if you go, like, at least where I come from, Brazil, a lot of people smoke and they start figuring out the bed of they smoke in their ladies, right? So I come out from a time where we still would see the commercial from the guy driving the motorcycle, and he would stop at the top of the mountain, right, and smoke a cigarette. Like, wow, this is so cool to do. But then years later, you figure out, oh, actually, that was killing people. That is killing people. Now we have like the social awareness around cigarettes, but they're not prohibited. So it's kind of with social media. 10 years ago, we didn't know anything. Now the 10 books on the New York Times, like at least like three of them are like how to not get anxious with with social media. Like, what? This thing is affecting you like deeply, even
Yeah.
if you don't.
Like you saying, the social awareness of it is, I mean, people our age are pretty aware of it because we grew up without it, and then it came into our life, and then we were like, oh, this is ruining people. It's a certain generation from about 10, 15 years ago that didn't know
Mhm.
anything except that social media. So it's always been a part of their life. They don't know anything outside
Yeah.
of it. So then there's
Yes.
a younger generation that is coming up now that they it was this last generation, they kind of figured out maybe this isn't the best thing to give a kid a phone at 10 years old. So then the younger kids aren't getting a phone or aren't getting social media as early, and they don't really miss it because they kind of see the older generation as fucked up now. It's a weird
I
thing
think
to
it
see at
depends on
our age.
parenting too, though, because we know adults who are older than us who are super big into social media, where they'll be just having a conversation and say, oh, I'm not friends with so and so anymore. She used to like all my posts and now she doesn't.
Yeah.
And they have kids too, and their kids are the same
Those are
way.
people in their 50s.
And I wonder why.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess to that note as well, my daughter, when she did get her first phone at 10, not because of me, I did not get it for her, but she got a phone and she got Musically, which was previously, it was before TikTok, but it's now TikTok, Musically. And she said, Mom, I got 1,000 likes on my video. And she was so excited. And I said, hey, kiddo, that's cool, but like not a big deal. Like, don't validate yourself with that, please. Like, don't assign a value to that. Like, you're the greatest person because you got 1,000 likes. Just say, yeah, that's cool. And then go play outside. And she couldn't, because that was that generation. She's a Gen Zer.
Yeah,
Yes, man, that's the adrenaline, man. She got everything on it.
Well, and that kind of thing too, the music.ly or whatever it was called was dumb too, because it wasn't even something to be proud of when you make a video on there, because it's all auto done. You pick a song, you put a couple snippets of video, it stitches them together, puts the music to it, and like it's all like algorithm based, so it all does its thing.
So she was like jumping in and out and like doing this like weird
I know, but then it like
choreographed
stitched it together and put it to music, and it's like, okay, well, you know how hard that would be to create that kind of video 10 years ago without all these AI things? Like, that would be something to be proud of if you did that yourself. But when you're just taking a bunch of random videos and being like, here, make a video out of it, and then you get 1,000 likes, awesome, you know?
Yeah, I like to go into the theory whenever you talk about conspiracy, how they say that this is like the production factory of our childs, you know, because you're literally putting them, what is that, right? So you go into app, the app opens up all these templates, and you doing like, it's you yourself inside your home, but you're doing literally the same thing that maybe 10 million people are doing, because one template, you can see it, it has like, I don't know, 50 million downloads, and you don't even know these people, but you're doing the same thing at what they're doing. So it's like that, you know, we all in this cluster that nobody's really aware of it, because you're literally emulating what everyone else is doing without your awareness. And it's really like something it gets me thinking like, whoa, where are we going right now? It's exciting, but it's scary, right? Because you can go many ways. And I think the only way that you ever gonna go back to it is if you connect with the great mother. If you go back to nature, like, you have to do things, because you can get excited about all this, you know, chat GPT and metaverse and whatever, but nothing will surpass the great mother, you know. So rivers, skies, mountains, if you get a chance, I don't know, whatever you guys are, if you can go hiking, if you can go free diving, if you can like go near, you know, a space that doesn't involve you to be around this energy of technology, if you get yourself out of that, you're gonna disconnect from this world that we just talked about, you know, with all this production. And then you're going to connect with your own self, because your soul is like coming back to you. You know, we all disconnected from that, I think, right now. Don't you think, guys?
Yeah.
I think
it's being pushed. I think that's exactly what the design of AI and our phones being in our hands, our little black mirrors that we carry around, that is to disassociate ourselves from our soul, from our true self, from our true purpose. We're focused on what everyone else is doing, and it's fine. Like, TikTok is okay. I don't watch it all the time, but there's some funny stand-up comedy on there. There's some funny cat videos and whatnot. But if you live your life that way, like, I have to watch TikTok for at least an hour today, that's where the problem is. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to take a walk today for an hour, or I'm going to go plant a garden, or go hiking, or do something with my family, or have a barbecue with my friend, like a face-to-face interaction with people.
Some alive interaction, connection that really happens, right? Because like, for example, us, we can have this interaction and it's fine, but for me to really feel you guys, you know, who are they, you know? So it would be very the best for us to be connecting in a room, you know, if you're gonna have some type of relation, because it can get us proximity, right? But it wouldn't definitely it won't get us connected, but it will definitely get us like near each other, you know. So that's a good thing. I don't think there's any way backwards, you know. So there is always, you gotta, like, we're gonna learn along the way to do this, how to ride this wave, and we're gonna get this thing under control at some point. But it's gonna take like all these chaos that is happening now, man. You got all this division, You guys like are American, and I understand because I live here in the West for 9 years, and I see all this life happening. So in Brazil, it's very basically the same thing. You have the division of the worker parties, and then the like the Republicans. Hey, if you don't agree with us, you disagree with us. It's not, there's no middle ground, so everybody's kind of punching each other, and that is a scary scenario, right?
Yeah,
Right
that's not
now.
how we're taught to live, though, as people. We're taught as young kids that if you have a disagreement with someone, you should talk it out. At least that's how I was raised. You should talk it out and try to find a common ground. But then you see politicians arguing on TV right
Hmm.
now, and they're just like, fuck them. I mean, maybe they're not saying fuck, but they're screaming and yelling at each
Yes.
other. And because you don't agree, you're not. You don't agree with anything I say. And that's not true. I could disagree with you on something you
Right.
say, but it doesn't mean I disagree with everything you say. And it doesn't mean I don't like you as a person or don't relate on multiple levels with you.
Or that
But
we can't still be civil.
people, yeah, they're like, okay, you don't agree with me on this one thing that I'm super passionate about. Okay, I'm writing you off completely. And that's kind of the direction our society's going.
Yes, I think the only like the best solution is for you to go back to the old ways of psychedelics. I don't know if you guys ever done any psychedelic experience.
No,
Have you guys?
never.
Oh, yeah, we,
Never. I mean, you have. I'm sure because you guys look like you're connected in some way, but beyond what it is normal. So you have the connection of the. As Terrence McKenna called it, the upstairs floor. The upstairs floor is the floor that is over your head. So it's the soul connection you have with the with the source. I don't know. Have you guys done mushrooms by any chance?
Yeah, quite a bit.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we sure
Yeah.
have.
Damn, man. Because I mean, that thing. Whenever I did mushroom, that changed so much for me. It was on this wave that it was clear to me that there's no division. You know, I think that was because there's a guy going around called Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
You know that guy, right? So he has this amazing documentary out on Netflix. I think it's called Apocalypse, Ancient Apocalypse. Amazing stuff that it just for you, man, to be alive in a time where a guy like that is producing that kind of material. Because if you watch the documentary, it's like a masterpiece. And
Oh
he
yeah.
is all doing that by himself because he wants you to know that maybe what you have been taught that it may go the other way, so you might be losing in some information that would be crucial to you to develop your whole self. And he goes very big into psychedelics, and I'm a firm believer that I'm not saying that psychedelics is for everybody. I started the basics, I went to all the development course. I started with cannabis, of course, right? It's very, basically the first that everybody goes through. Then
It's
I
the
scaled
gateway
to
drug,
more.
man.
Yeah. So you go to cannabis, and then I went, I did my research. Of course, I was very aware of what I was doing because I don't want anybody to do this, think it's just fun because there's a lesson behind all this. So I listened a lot to Terrence McKenna at the time, and then I did my first 5 grams, the hero's journey everybody tells you about, right? You guys done 5 grams of?
No, I haven't gotten that hard. I
No, what
plan
was
to
it
at some
like? I
point.
want to hear about this. What happened?
Oh, you didn't do it? Oh man, let me go then higher because I was getting so I did a lot of 5 grams. I did 5 grams about like 6 times. I was doing mushrooms. I spent like a year doing mushrooms, like trying to figure it out what it was, like my life. At that time I didn't put. So remember this book that we're talking about. It's called Who Would Have Thought? Daniel Diaz, a server with PTSD story. This book was not a reality back then when I was doing this, and I was trying to figure out because I had a mess of papers. I just have written all these pages, and I did not know what to do with it. Just to look at it, it would get me scared, because it was a mess, and I was like, how I'm gonna put that in order and stuff. And then I was doing mushrooms. And I did one night, I was getting bold. And Terrence McKenna, he says, when in doubt, double the dose. And I was like, all right, let me do this, right? I did 8 grams. So this was a Saturday afternoon. I was like, let me do, shut down all the curtains and everything. It was just me and my cats. And bro, everything happened very fast, So I muddled the grams and I put some music on. I ate it. I made an intention because I was like, I'm gonna do this and I want to see, everything happening for me. Like I want to see my answers. You know what I'm definitely if I'm here to do something. I was so basically, long story short, I was getting very arrogant with my ass. It was like, oh, tell me, teach me this and that. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna eat this 8 grams because and then I didn't know what was getting into it, man. Just listen to it. So I ate it and then I went to the couch. Everything was very ethereal. Like I started on like clocking the experience. I look at it, it was 2 hours in, I start feeling, all this thing, like all this energy settling in. And then like, all right, man, it's kicking in. And then I started listening to the songs, everything was very coming at me. I started like the vision was shaking out. And then I laid down in the couch because I felt like the ecstasy of it. Ooh, I started shaking it. And then through my mind, I saw this light. Like it was, this sort of triangle of lights right in front of me. And then through that light, I could clearly see, like, okay, this is the apex of creation, right? This is true where everybody comes from. This is the point where we cross. Just like, oh my God, let me see what it is. And then I start working toward it, So I was just feeling love and, this connection. I was very feeling, to say the word will be positive. I was very positive connected to this light. Like I had to just go into it. I started going, walking into it. When I got to the light, I could see that after the light, there was like this, it would be like a mandala of the universe with thousands of Buddhas. They were like in perfect lotus position. They were like millimetrically perfectly placed, between themselves. Like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. I started crying. And then I started to cross the line, guys. When I crossed the line, immediately, a strong hand, like I could feel like some sort of force, like it came to my chest and it holding me down, like, so for you to have a full picture, I was laying down on my couch, but what happened was I was, getting up like this, I was laying down, so I was getting my upper body up. So I was getting up, and then I felt this because I was going to the light. I felt the hand, and then I was going down again with this opposing force, on my chest. I'm like, this is crazy. And then a voice spoke like, you do not have the capacity to walk through that door. For you to think you are able to walk through the door, you have a lot of things to overcome. And then like this humble, I started crying, oh my God. 'Cause, I mean, it was so sad a moment. Like, what am I doing with my life? Like all these things. Started realizing all the time I was wasting. Everything was like, yes, what am I doing? I want to be, over there, and I haven't even got, half of the things that I'm supposed to do done. It was so scary. Like after that day, I spent about 3 days walking around not knowing what was going on. It wasn't, I mean, afterwards I saw it, that was necessary, but it was very scary, because I literally thought like I didn't came back like for a long time. But now everything is clear, so once you put those like puzzle together, you might find an answer. So believe like the psychedelic, once you take it, is gonna like fix the issue for you. It's like an ancient technology. I love that phrase. Like what is it? Psychedelic is an ancient technology that is gonna bring your mind back. Because after that, I remember like I had this feeling that my mind got a reset button. Like somebody walking there and then like hit reset, boom. Because all the heaviness I ever felt in my life was away and went away. Well, this time also, so you guys don't understand, I was getting divorced, I was going through all this, and I was like, how am I going to do all that I'm supposed to do? And that experience cleared away. But it was very ego healing,
That almost sounds like a DMT trip, with the
Yeah,
geometric, things.
yeah, depending. So mushrooms, the thing about it is whenever you go higher on the dose, it's not that you're gonna get the MET experience. I never did DMT. That's my next dragon. So but whatever I read about was whenever you do like the quantity, you can get the same, basically the same experience as you would get on a DMT trip. But DMT is definitely something that I'm looking forward to, and ayahuasca too.
Yeah, that's on the list, and I definitely plan on doing it. I would probably do DMT, like the 5-MeO or the NND. I can't remember what the other one is, but I would probably do that before ayahuasca just to kind of get a feel for it, because ayahuasca thing is kind of a commitment. That's like, be prepared to shit yourself and trip for 9 hours or whatever it is, and that's a
I
commitment.
think ayahuasca is more humbling, though. I feel like the experiences that people have, not to cut you off, sorry, but the people that have had those crazy ayahuasca experiences, it's because they have to do that work on themselves. Like something comes in and says, you have to do this work. With DMT, it sounds fun. And, sometimes people have a slight weird experience that happens, or they pass through some veil of some other dimension for a minute and they get to see it, but they get to come back pretty much unscathed. With ayahuasca, people come back and they're like, holy shit, I'm a different person now.
Well,
and sometimes they're not. I don't know.
I think a lot of that
like
too is, I mean, a lot of it is the DMT in the ayahuasca, but a lot of it is the build up to it too, because you have to be, unless you're just fucking stupid, you have to be in a certain mindset and
on a certain
hopefully
diet.
be taking it seriously before you go do something like that, because you're not just, it's not like, oh, let's go to Peru this weekend and get fucked up on ayahuasca. You're not going to have a good time if that's your mindset going into that, from what I've heard. But and that's the other thing too, is it's the same thing with mushrooms, like people that want to just take them while they're partying, which I'm totally guilty of, but it's a different thing. It'll turn on you real quick. And I think the reason they're so powerful, especially with something to do with like PTSD, I mean, like you said, even cannabis can be good for that, because it makes you hyper self-aware, and that's what makes people paranoid on it, especially when you're new to smoking pot or whatever. It makes you super self-aware, and then you get paranoid about it. But that's actually the good thing about it, is because it's like holding a mirror up to yourself and being like, look at yourself, you fuck.
Yeah,
Look
the
at what you're
paranoia is
doing.
like a good thing. It's a side effect, but it's something that's like, hey, this is how you should be all the time. And once you're aware of yourself, you won't even pay attention to this anymore, because you'll be
Guys,
okay.
oh my God.
Right.
I just love that you guys pointed that out, because I literally share the same feeling. So to bring up my book once more, so my book is literally about a guy, and he's going from the first joint that he ever smoked to the point that he's gonna get, I need marijuana, I need cannabis. So because there's no book that literally, point that out to you, like, oh, how is it to go from a joint to figuring out that you need, marijuana. So I love that I could do that on this book, because it's literally that. So cannabis in the Rastafari culture is called there's a chapter in my book called The Wisdom of Solomon. So this is a real story. I worked my whole life in restaurants. And I was a server, I bartend, I did everything. I host, I was a busser. I met this cook, and he was from the Rastafari culture. He was like basically the first badass head chef that I ever met in my life. He was like one of those Anthony Bourdain guys that you just meet, and the guy, he has a lot of passion when he speaks to you. He definitely inspires you, when you meet these figures. And I went to his house one day, and I was having this issue at the time with marijuana, with cannabis. I was like, oh my God, I'm forgetting shit. I'm smoking too much. I was going to the guilty part of it. And I'm like, I gave him a ride home, and he was like, hey, you want to come in for a joint? And I was like, no, man, like, listen, I might be smoking too much. He's like, smoking too much? What are you talking about? It's like, come inside. And then we smoked a joint, and he was like pointing out to me, listen, marijuana, the only thing that is gonna do to you is make you feel present in the moment. He's gonna shut the doors from the past and from the future, and you're gonna be present. And he gave me a book that same night called The Cabra Nagast. The Cabra Nagast is the Bible of the Rastafari culture. So the Rastafari, they believe, so King Solomon was the wisest man ever lived. They consider there's a lot of books called, King Solomon and the wisdom, the richest man on earth, etc. And the Rastafari, when King Solomon died, he has to be cremated, and they throw his ashes through the country of Ethiopia, throughout Jamaica, and from those ashes, a plant of wisdom was born. And so the Rastafari believes when you smoke cannabis, you inhale Solomon's wisdom. And that is what exactly you guys said. Whenever you get paranoid, paranoid is that mirror being reflected to you, you know. So whenever actually, because I know a lot of people, I'm not saying cannabis is for everybody because I have a lot of people, I know a lot of people that lost their minds to edibles, you know, it's all about the quantity, right? So you got to be careful too.
Edibles are
But
dangerous
Edibles
sometimes.
are a
Like,
different fucking
it's a different
animal.
thing. Yeah.
right, yeah, and I totally agree with that because there is out there. You meet some people that are like, you know, they're gone, man. And I love the point because you meet people and you talk about cannabis, they say like, "Oh, it makes me crazy," or "It makes me feel this way or that." I'm like, "How is it?" And they say, and you figure it out when they tell you is they smoke a huge joint the first time.
Right.
I'm like, hey, that's so crazy, man. Because literally, if you're gonna smoke the first time, just take a hit, shut the fuck up, take a hit, sit down, let it go, right? And then you see what happens. Now, if you're gonna first time you smoke, and then probably where you smoke, right? You smoke at a party where you had a couple beers and whiskey, whatever, and your mind is already in a dark place. So, as you said, it's not gonna be perfect for you. It's not gonna be advantageous to
Right.
experiment in there.
No, I
Not
had a
with
friend like
mushrooms,
that
not
that
vapes.
yeah, I had a friend like that all the time that he would only smoke weed with me if he was already fucked up drunk. And I'm like,
Oh
that's
no.
the wrong because then he would lose his inhibitions and be like, oh fuck it, I could smoke weed. I'm like, no, now's not the time. Then he would get sick and throw up. I'm like, I told you. And then he
Yeah,
would,
it's not the
the
weed's
next day
fault.
be like, yeah, I'm never smoking
Yeah.
weed again. I'm like, no, dude, the problem was the 8 bottles of whiskey you just drank and then smoked weed. Try just smoking it sober and we'll have a good time. It'll be
And
awesome.
do it kind of like ritualistically instead of for recreational purposes. And it can be recreational too. That's fine. Like, no big deal with that. But you have to be in the right mind state. Like you were saying, when I first smoked weed, I was 15 or 16, and I was
Hmm.
really married to this world, to this existence. I didn't have any sort of spiritual beliefs or religious beliefs or anything like that. I was just right in the moment of this world, this earthly realm that I don't believe is reality now. But it took me a very long time to enjoy smoking weed. I had to be in my 30s before I was finally able to love it, because then I was like, oh, yeah, there's more to this earthly existence. There's definitely something after we die. But when I was younger, I didn't have any of that. And it was a terrible experience every time because I was in the wrong mind state.
Yeah, and I always got that actually, like you were talking about with the reset button. I got that relatively early on when the first time I did mushrooms because it was actually I guess it was the second time, but it was the first time I took a decent dose. It wasn't 5 grams, but it
Hmm.
was. I always told my older brother, and he was always super against this. Now he's on board with it, but I always told him like I'm a better person for having done mushrooms and seeing what I saw, and I can't describe to you what I saw. It was just a switch in my brain that went off, and I never saw things the same again. But not in a bad way. It raised something where I just looked at things different, and then nothing mattered as much anymore. And not like it. I always tell people it's not like you don't care. It's not caring. It's not letting things affect you as much. And something triggered that in my brain after that. I'm like, oh, okay, none of this really matters that much. So why would I get angry?
That this world is kind of like a game in a way. And I don't want to minimize it like that. I don't want to make it seem like this world is just a game. Who cares what you do? We have people in our lives who depend on us and care about us. We have stuff we need to do, but it's not that big of a deal. At the end of the day that we'll all come to, where we die, we're not going to be like, man, I wish I was more of a bitch. I wish I paid my taxes better.
I wish I
You
got
know,
more pissed off
I
at the
wish I
guy that cut
worked
me off.
more,
Yeah.
much
Right.
harder. And I wish I spent less time with my family on your deathbed. You're just not going to think of those things. But those are all at the forefront of our mind every single day,
That's the
day
monkey
to
mind.
day. Yeah. When we wake
Yes,
up, we're
man.
like, got to go to work, got to drop the kids off, got to do this. Everything's an inconvenience. Move out of my way. I have to go here. And then when we're about to die, we're going to be like, shit, I wish I just didn't care about all
I
that
wasted
stuff.
so much time being
Yeah.
angry about stupid shit. But
Right.
maybe next life. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys know, right? DMT is what's released when you die, right? In your brain. Your brain
Yeah.
releases DMT. So whenever you do psychedelic, there's a part of DMT that is like, pull into it. That's why I think the ego that happens, besides the pineal gland being shaken, you feel because that's literally it, right? Why do you feel? Because So let's say if you never done a psychedelic experience, the first time you do it is like, oh my God, I am like is the music, right? I
A whole
am
new
him
world.
as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am he
Everything's
as
really
you are
funny.
me, and you are me, and we are all together, right? So you literally like it's that feeling that you get when you do the experience. Besides that, we have undeniable data now that these things are working not only for recreational, but we also have people from serious pathology coming back. You have literally people healing from cancer. I don't know why, but it's smoking cannabis, man. People with severe cancer, they're smoking cannabis, they're getting the pain releases, they're not feeling inflammation, they're literally 6 months away, and then they come back, they just disappear. Whoa, whoa. I'm not saying that cannabis is doing that, but it's definitely a part of the process,
It's
right?
probably a part of the mindset too, because I think
Mindset.
the mindset has a lot to do with that. Like the people that we've talked about a million times where they get a placebo and they fix whatever problem was wrong with them, then they find out it's a placebo and that problem comes back. So it's literally all in your head. So, and I mean,
Right.
it makes sense if you go to the conspiracy route why cannabis would be so demonized for so many years, because if you can grow it in your backyard, I mean, we grew volunteer plants in our backyard. They just started growing. So if you can do it that easy and, fix some problems, whether they're psychological or physical, makes a lot of sense why that would be so demonized
Yeah,
for so long.
pharmaceuticals that
Right.
way, so that they're gonna lose money.
Like, what if you found out your grass in your front yard, if you juiced it, it like cured everything? They'd be like, oh my God, we got to make grass illegal. It's Schedule 1 now. Grass is Schedule 1.
They just start a lot of
Yeah,
fires.
right. I'm so glad, guys, that we're living in this time that we're moving in the psychedelic revolution again. So with mushrooms, we definitely have crossed, many gates, and we got into the point where you're gonna be able to have these, because if you go to a safe container, oh no, I don't want to do the mushroom thing. It's like, wait, just wait a second. Go to this guy, give him a call. Oh, he's a doctor. Yes, he's a doctor. Oh, okay. With the doctor, I feel much better. Oh, and then you go there and then you sit down. You eat the thing. You're not gonna eat the mushroom. You're gonna take a pill which has the psilocybin, and then you're gonna be like, oh my god. There's this case of this woman that she lost her child, and this is serious because I'm not a mother, and I can imagine what it is for you to lose a child. And then this mother, she goes and she never had, the purpose after, the happening. She would never like go to sleep or, feel good about anything that she did. And she went, she did the 5 grams of mushrooms with the, assistance. And in the experience, this is like some really, that it cannot be made like made up. What she saw, like her kid with Mother Mary, like Mother Mary show up during the experience, and she said like, "Hey, don't worry, because your kid now is with me on this realm. You couldn't take care of him when he was there in your realm, but I'm taking care of him now here. So you should just enjoy your life and do the best you can with everything you have." This message literally like gave this woman the whole piece she was looking, for, and she could get on with her life. And then you have this case, you have many cases from veterans from war that, the guy came back. He couldn't, look himself in the mirror because he was the only from the platoon that couldn't, that guy that came back. Everybody else died. And then he couldn't understand why he was the one that came back. He went, did 5 grams. He saw the comrades, hey, you literally live, the only one that live. So you should enjoy. You shouldn't be, feeling petty or regret anything about this experience. So go back and enjoy the life for us. So you have all these positive people that they come back, more creative, more passionate, more, and it's everything but good things. So
Right.
there's nothing that you can say bad about these things. When you hear something bad about it, it's usually because of the guidance and the person that was doing
Right.
this
And
way.
like you said
Yeah, and
before,
their
it is
mindset.
not for everybody. And I make sure every time I talk to
Yeah.
somebody about this that's never done them, that are kind of
Hmm.
skeptical, I'm like, hey, this is your choice. I might provide you with the product, but it's up to you. Like, don't blame me if your mind state is fucked or something, because that is the other thing. If you go into it with a fucked up mindset, and you never know what people's actual mind state is till they do
Yeah.
some psychedelics, and then you're like, Oh, that's where you're at. Okay, gotcha. But it's going to affect everybody different. Everybody's going to get a different message. And like that lady that had Mother Mary come to her, it doesn't really matter whether that happened or not. It happened
Right.
for her and it helped her. So that's
There
a
was a
net
purpose for
positive.
it. Yeah, no matter what.
And
That
even
was
the
more
hard
than
trips.
necessary.
Yeah, even the hard trips where people say, "Oh, I had a bad trip on acid or mushrooms or whatever." It can be bad, but it just depends on how you take that or
It's your
use it. Because
perspective. Yeah, if you didn't learn the lesson.
I've had not bad trips. I've never had a bad trip, knock on wood, but I've had
Yeah.
difficult ones that are, I'm like, oh, this, I really have to like work through something in my head here. This is really,
Right.
I don't know why this is so hard. But then afterwards, you have such a relief when it finally wears off and you're like, oh, okay. I see what
Yeah.
that was about
Open-minded.
now.
You have
Yeah.
to be open-minded when you take them. Like you can't just close your mind off and say it's going to be like this because you're going to be in for a
Yeah.
surprise.
2 tips, guys. Whenever you go into a bad trip, not the so-called bad trip, is just breathe and surrender, surrender and breathe. And just to, there is a Terence McKenna quote that is perfect. So there is no such thing as a bad trip. There is only a trip that you didn't know you needed, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that is the way. Because you always, no psychedelic experience is ever wasted if you know how to interpret right after. You're closing that loop. So you gotta remember about every psychedelic experience. There's a loop that is gonna be left open and you gotta close it. That's the only thing you gotta do. Because if you left wonder, oh my God, what was that? Why did that came up? And you do not know, that's gonna get your mind, running crazy. So you gotta know how to close the loop. The loop is gonna happen after the experience. So just know how, oh, that happened because I needed that, so you tell yourself, and the narrative is gonna come along that is gonna propel you to another positive, more experience in life. Because the most important thing about psychedelics is you getting the bad trigger out of your head. For me is PTSD, and whenever I go, let's say, I hate people screaming. So if I go to a market and somebody gives yell at something, I'm already triggered. I'm like, fuck. I know I'm reacting already. I'm not acting.
But
So
at
I
least you
gotta
see
take.
it. So that's the difference is you see it
Yeah.
in yourself.
So I know,
Okay.
yeah. So I know I gotta stop and at least 5 seconds, breathe deep, and then I'm gonna go back to myself, right? But a lot of people they're not fucking with this. They don't know. And then you see this happening, people like, oh my God, that guy, you were like at Walmart, and then the guy in front of your line is, in a rush with something. You see him, this guy is about to break the fuck down. He's gonna break down right now, man. He's about to go. Like you see the guy like knocking his head, what the fuck is going on? Then like, holy shit. And then, something happened. And if that vibe comes to you, just remember like, hey, I might have the triggers right now, but I'll be okay after this, just hand.
Yeah,
Peaceful.
and that's I think that's the problem with a lot of the triggered people is they're so short-sighted that they're not seeing a month down the road, let alone 24 hours. So they get triggered about
Nah.
these stupid things, not knowing in 24 hours they're probably not going to be that mad about it anymore, but they don't see that, so they flip out in the moment. And it's just what do they call that, myopic,
Well,
short-sighted.
it's just you're in a state of
Yeah.
panic. Your brain goes to fight or flight where you're not really thinking about anything besides self-preservation. So you can't really think clearly. And I'm not saying that's
And
good or bad.
that's a
I'm just
product
saying
of the
that's
environment
just what
too.
happens.
Yeah, that limbic state that we're kept in with the media, which it comes back to social media. It's constant
Yeah.
limbic state of fight or flight, and it makes people just fucking irrational and yeah.
Every time you are out, especially after coronavirus, you're looking for the other, right? You're looking around and see if the other has any issues so they don't affect you. Because that's the kind, in that, like, no matter what coronavirus happened, or, if it was true or not, but the consequences are we like it literally left people looking around to see if the other has a problem, right? Because you could get affected by it. If somebody coughed near you, you're gonna be aware, you gotta be looking at it, right? To not, so you literally feel that people are looking for, like, oh, is this guy with something, is he up to something? They're not looking at themselves, they're looking at you, but they are the ones with the bad behavior, because listen, whenever I meet somebody that ever smoke cannabis or anything like that, already like, oh, this guy, he knows how to be nice, at least, because he knows how to put himself in the other people's shoes. when you feel that you don't, oh, when you meet people that they never experienced anything like that, all the triggers are coming up as you speak to them, you know? So you feel like their ego, oh, they're very money oriented. Oh, I have this car, what car you have? Or those kind of questions come up. And you're
Yeah,
like, what is this talk?
exactly.
What is this talk right now? The fuck?
Yeah, that's not normal behavior. But again, with the COVID thing, besides just people coughing, on the other side of it, the people who were more kind of in our camp, they were I saw a lot of people judging people who were wearing masks and who were sick. They were just like, oh, fuck them, like they're bad too. So there's so much division on both sides, where even people who disagreed with the vaccine, because we didn't get vaccinated, but I don't care if anybody did. And that's how everybody should look at it. That's my opinion. I'm sorry, but you don't have to get vaccinated, but you shouldn't be mad at someone who does. You shouldn't even give a fuck what that
And
person's
vice
doing.
versa, but that's not what we saw.
But yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter though, but don't follow in their footsteps, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Just because people are pushing and saying, you need to get vaccinated. And if you don't, you're killing grandma, but I'm not going to. And it's okay that you are. And then let it go. Don't get mad back.
Guys, I'm gonna give a high five here for you guys because I'm not vaccinated either. Boom,
Boom. High
boom.
five.
That, bro, this is crazy. Isn't that crazy? Like 2 years ago, we literally had this whole lush martial law going on, and now it doesn't even exist. You know, so it's like wow, they're up to something, but they knew we had this short span of attention, and they let us go because nobody remembers, man. Everybody was going crazy. You
Yeah.
met people, they were going insane. They were like pointing the finger at your face and
Oh,
getting,
yeah.
fucking erratic. Like, whoa, bro, this is an animal state of mind. And now nobody even like it didn't happen, did it? I mean, I don't know. We got to look at the tapes and then see because everything was so the level of craziness was beyond fathom. Like you couldn't fathom what was going on. It looked like that Joker movie. Everything was up like out of control. And now we are here, still experience the afterwards, right? There's still a little bit of bad taste in their mouths of people. Everything's
Yeah.
crazy still.
I
But
don't
I
think.
do believe.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I don't think any of that crazy stuff was ever happening. I think that was all just on the news and people reacted. They took it in and then acted like that was what was happening. And so then they
Yeah.
kind of sort of projected that out, or they'd say, did you see what happened in the news? Do you see what's happening in New York? Do you see what's happening? How about what's happening right in front of your face? Like, I would love
Yeah.
to hear that because I didn't really hear a whole lot of stories of people dropping dead. I'm sure there were a couple, but those were all headline news stories. Every single person who died was a headline news story. It's like they had ambulance chasers. Just, oh, do they have COVID? Do they have a cold? Are they sick? We're going to make that headline news. And it's going to be that all 10 top 10 stories are all going to be about someone who died. And we're going to make sure they were unvaccinated because we want that to be out for sure. So when that's all out in the news, it's only 10 people. And I'm not saying only 10 people died. I know people died, but they made it like the biggest deal. And it wasn't really that many people who died of COVID. I'm sorry. I will not believe that. I refuse to believe that.
No, they just died testing positive for COVID, which is an entirely different, talk.
One
You
thing
want
that
to
we
talk
can
about
say
that?
definitely for sure is like I remember at the time, 90% of people that died from COVID, they're already really bad with something else, right? So
Right.
Right. They all had
you
comorbidities.
you're not just justification. So, but whatever, that thing is like gone, and the mindset it might still prevail, right? The division is still here, but we just don't have the mass to talk about it anymore. I'm not going, but I'm looking for something else. Now people are looking maybe I don't know. Well, what can I stir? Because I don't think they like you got to think about social media. Social media might be the coronavirus, right? But I think we're so far down the road, there is no escape now. So we're just gonna have to adapt to that and make it, I don't know, man, a better way. What do you guys think about ChatGPT? Do you guys
Oh,
know
yeah.
that, right?
We've been talking a lot about the AI apocalypse recently, and what you're saying with COVID being over is I can't remember if that's a Bernaysian thing. I can't remember. It's some old timey propaganda technique where they bring in something crazy like COVID, and then it wanes, and you're done with that, and then they give you like a lull period, and then it comes back with something even crazier. And by that time, they have people trained like Pavlov's dogs, where you
Right.
hear this on the media, you do this. Remember last time, you do this.
And it can be either way, though.
Remember how it turned out well last time? Yeah.
Yeah, but they know, they're not stupid. They know that there are going to be people who oppose it and people who go along with it, and they're planning for both.
That's why I think COVID actually blew up in their face a little bit, because it at the very least got some people to pay a little more attention to what was going on in the world, because they had to, because it was shoved down their throat. But so that is the next conversation, though, is what's coming next, and it's anybody's guess. And like you said, we just kind of have to deal with whatever comes next. And
I think it's aliens.
Whether
aliens
it's aliens, fake aliens, which is my guess, or some kind of combination of that with AI, because AI does seem to be taking the forefront right now. But space is too. Like Jen's always saying, every time she opens her phone, it's like new asteroid, new.
Actually, I saw a really funny article that was like, whatever rover takes amazing pictures of Uranus, and it was just pictures of the planet, but it was just a really funny headline because I'm a child. But anyway, everything in the news is all about 2 black holes that they found that are super close to our solar system, that are merging or whatever, or some undiscovered planet that sort of could possibly be could have life on it or whatever. Or an asteroid is zipping past Earth today, but it's really like 1.2 million light years away. Everything is about outer space or aliens or life on other planets. That's being seeded out to us right now. So I think that's the next thing.
The AI has to play into it at some point. Yeah. AI has ramped up 1,000% in the last 6 months. Like AI was like one of these pie in the sky kind of ideas until a couple months ago, and then we're like, oh, this is happening now. AI is here, and it's only going to get better or worse, however you want to look at it.
No, look, like, bro, we got now, guys. We got ChatGPT. So the provision is 3 years to 5 years from now, lawyers, all those things, accountants, all those professions, they're gonna be gone, right? Because ChatGPT is gonna be the lawyer. ChatGPT is gonna be the accountant. He's gonna do all of that for you. So logic is gonna have its own little part. Like, oh, logic is gone because AI, at least now, won't be able to have emotions. We don't know if that will be possible, but logistically, they're gonna kill it, right? There's nobody, man. Like I saw this guy, he put a contract on ChatGPT and he typed it, ChatGPT, examine this contract on my behalf. And 2 minutes later, ChatGPT was like, "Oh, bro, this contract is gonna get you in trouble in 2 years or less," and this part. Like he outlined it, all the bad outcomes for him on the contract. There's a lot of things that ChatGPT is already doing that we even, dude, if you just realize it, you're gonna freak out. You know, it's the Black Mirror episode coming to life because
for sure.
We got Neuralinks. You know about Neuralinks. Neuralinks is already up, but it's not out yet. But Elon Musk is already saying, "Oh man, I'm gonna open a neck." So he's gonna open up this little hole, the size of a quarter, right here on your neck.
Like in the Matrix?
Yeah, you know. So yeah, this is already happening. So he's gonna open this little hole here, and then he's gonna put a bunch of cords, you know, into it, and then he's gonna close, and that's gonna connect to your brain. So this spot is gonna close it, and then it's gonna be a Bluetooth spot. So you're gonna be able to Bluetooth your phone with your brain, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, today I have to do
ChatGPT." Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna be like, "Oh, I have to do today. I don't know. I have to use my creativity, let's say." And then you're gonna just go to your phone, access creativity, you're gonna do 2 hours straight creativity, no problem. You're gonna be this magician. So I don't know what was really happening, because think about it. Less than 10 years ago, influencer, no matter what you say, it wasn't a profession. It's a profession now, and you look for it. You ask kids. Listen, guys, I was bartending a year ago. So every 18-year-old, like if I had 15 years, a table of 15 years older, I would ask them, "Hey man, what do you want to be when you're 20?" Every single one of them would tell me, "I want to be an influencer. I want to be a TikToker. I want to be this." I'm like, it's the thing. It's the next thing. It's just happening now. It's the eyes of the Matrix catching up. Like, I'm sucking you in because it's a real place. You think about it, right? If you go in, oh, let's say you have 2 million followers on Instagram, and then you post a video, that video hit all those juicy likes, and then you see your phone spiraling out of control, man. Brrr. And then you'll be like, oh, why do I need to talk to that person at the bar? Why do I need to do this and that? You're just losing connection with the real world, right? Because you're getting all the juice from the internet, right? The
Right.
dopamine, all this, the happiness you can find is on your phone and the shit you post on social media.
Well,
And if
that's what sucks
everyone's
too. Is
talking,
they're finding out more and more that the phone thing hits the same brain centers as like cocaine, and that is the dopamine center, and that's different than the serotonin receptors. So the serotonin is more like a time release happy type of thing, where dopamine's
yeah,
instant right now, but it only lasts so long, and then you got to have another hit. The serotonin's more like you just had a great, you worked your ass off at work, you came home, did all the chores and all the things, and then you're tired and you sit on the couch and it's like, I earned this. And that's the
yeah,
serotonin feeling, is I did a great day's work, I did all the things I did the best I could with the day, and now I get to relax. That's the serotonin
Yeah, there's
feeling, but
something
it
about
takes
hard days
time
work.
and it takes hard work. It's not just an instant hit to your brain.
guys, just think about all you said, right? So you have that, and then you have the shot of dopamine every time coming in from a phone, and then your brain is a brain that is fucked up with ADHD, with PTSD, with all the things that can come in a modern
Anxiety.
society,
Yeah.
anxieties. You have everything on your brain that is not supposed to support this kind of stimulant, this input coming from a fucking machine, but you have it. And then what is the result? You can only get mixed up. Like you cannot know your direction, right? Because you're not thinking about the direction. You're thinking about like it's like an addiction. You leave your phone 5 minutes away. Oh my God. Like you touch yourself. If my phone is not in my pocket, I'm not even that addicted. If I touch my right leg, which is the leg I always put my phone in, and I don't feel my oh my God, I was like, whoa, what happened? I have to stop what I'm doing, look around, and go find my phone. So imagine this happening in a person that is like, you know, the person that does the TikTok videos of the 30 million views. She is gonna go fucking psycho if she loses a phone.
They
That's the thing,
do.
Glo.
They
Yeah,
absolutely do.
the meaning now is not me and you. The meaning now is me and my phone. So we gotta go back and use the old ways. I just wanna,
Mhm.
before I don't know if we're about to wrap this up, but
Oh
guys,
yeah,
I
we can
talk
wrap up
about
soon.
no, no, I mean, I have to talk about the noble savage. So, guys, my book is called Who Would Have Thought? Because, who would have thought about coronavirus? Who would have thought about all these things that are happening? Who would have thought? I think the universe, so that's the only mastermind behind everything. And good or bad, it came to us, and now we're just gonna have, to digest that food. And so, who would have thought a server with PTSD story? Because this guy, he's not aware he has PTSD. He's a server at a restaurant and he's going to work and he's serving people. People are being rude to him. He's getting triggered by the PTSD. He's having murder thoughts. He wants to destroy, the world. But then he's introduced to cannabis and he becomes compassionate. He becomes aware of himself. He starts free diving in Florida and he starts enjoying life and changing the mindset, and then he started expanding his whole consciousness. Through the end of the book, he becomes an alcoholic because he works in a bar and he falls in love with the bartender. They got married. There's a whole love story behind it, which is nice. But he, I'm not going to spoil it, but in the end, I talk about a thing called the noble savage. The noble savage, I think, is the ideal we all should strive for in today's society. The noble savage is the guy that he's gonna live and he's gonna take, all the chances he can to build himself up to the purpose he came here to do. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be you making furniture at your home. It can be you being a rock star. It can be you being a writer. But you're gonna have to figure that out by yourself. You're gonna have to stop some moment and do some deep work in yourself, and then you're gonna leave this world leaving a better path behind because you follow your own truth. So just be a noble savage. Take society, do not be that civilized, because if you are civilized, you're taking in a lot of stuff that is not good for you. You know, society is telling you what you should be looking for, and I think you should look for that yourself. So the book is written literally in the nicest way, like the guy talks to you directly in a raw fashion, you know, and then he makes you aware of the great mother of cannabis, of the work you have to do and cut the shit, you know, because whenever he's working a bar, he gets, you know, drawn by a toxic crowd. He started doing drugs and all that. I use this book also to show the difference between alcohol and marijuana. What
Huge
both of them
difference. Yeah.
do. Yeah, what both of them do, because when he's just smoking cannabis, he's fine. When he goes to the bar, his life, you know, goes to another dark path. So there's a difference between those two, you know, substance. And I want, because we're missing this. There is not a novel out there that is gonna make you read about today's issues. You know, I was so pissed about this because I enjoy reading, and the only thing you have, you know, which is fine, you have Jordan Peterson's book to enlighten you about today's society, but you don't have a novel. You know, you don't have like a character that you can relate to, because this guy, he's going to work and the servers wanna, you know, backstab him and he has to deal with it. And then he smoke cannabis. Oh, I know this guy. I know what he's up to. You know, in a fun way, he begins to realize his potential. So
So
please, if you could,
basically,
my friends.
That
it
sounds
sounds
very
like
realistic.
that
Joe
sounds
and I were
awesome.
both servers for a long time.
I'm sure I
So
would
Really
back in that
nice.
yeah.
we were. I was a bartender and server for 7 years.
But
So
it sounds like a
Mm.
self-help book in novel form, which, like you said, is not something you really see. So that's
Well, a
amazing.
server's a great place though to realize who you are, because you're literally told to do
Yes.
the opposite of all of the things you want to do. Go wait on these pieces
Right.
of shit. So you
Yeah.
have to wait on people who, I mean, I worked at a nightclub for
Oh,
I think I lasted 8 months before I literally took my coat and said, fuck you, I'm done. Bye. And just walked out on my shift because I was done.
wow.
But it was horrible.
Well,
I made good tips, but they were like, shake your ass, basically, dress like a slut, serve whoever, but make sure you make people pay for everything. But if they kind of can't, you know, let it go sometimes. And I was like, dude, those perimeters are odd. I can't even. And they're like, yeah, just it's okay if someone grabs your ass. Don't be rude. What? What
No.
not, Doc?
oh, no.
Oh. I'm just saying that shit happened all the time where they're like, smile and be nice and be happy, even though you're literally taking in hate all the time. People get
Yes. So
mad at you, like,
literally, you just described it. Like, there's a chapter in my book where the narrator goes to training at the nightclub, and the server is introducing to him basically what you said. Listen, don't worry about people, worry about the money. You gotta
Mhm.
treat people as a king, so they spend like one. So she gives me this whole spiel about like how just to, you know, we had the gratuity open at this nightclub we worked for, so we could add the gratuity in every fucking bill we had, and then it was just like this perversive way of making money. I learned how to be. Look, there's good side and bad side to being in restaurants, right? And nightclubs and working to
sure.
make tips. Because it is I think it's an education. Now I see it because I was able literally to be around people I never thought possible whenever I work in restaurants, right? And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
make that money. So you literally feel like, wow, all this crazy shit is happening and I'm walking out of here as a hero. You know, so they gives you mind like a different kind of education about the world and how to be seen and how to, you know, actually protect yourself from bad people and actually know who is good and wants to be around you.
So I
Yeah.
always said everybody should have to work at a restaurant for like 6 months. I'm not even a week. No, fuck that. You won't get the full
Now
experience.
weak now.
Work for 6 months in a restaurant at a shitty restaurant, and you'll have the same effect as doing 5 grams of mushrooms. You'll have an ego death because you'll feel like the biggest piece of shit. You'll get stomped on by everybody, and you'll realize how you really are under stress. And everybody should have to figure
As
that
an
out for
adult, you
themselves.
should have to work at a restaurant before you're allowed to eat at a restaurant. You have to work there
Wow.
first. Just
Yeah.
as an adult, as a kid, you know, no big deal. But when people sat there and said to me, we had the people who would, old school dudes, would put money out on the table and they would say, here's your tip. And then if I messed up, like if I forgot a cup of ranch or I didn't bring their refill fast enough, they'd pull $1 away. And as soon as somebody did that, I would tell them, because I was in college at the time when I was a waitress, and I would say, oh, you can actually just pull it away right now. I'm in school. This isn't my career. So I don't give a shit about your tip. Like, I don't even need it. I'm sorry, I didn't
Right.
bring your water fast enough. Fuck you. You're not getting me. Like, you don't get to have me in this moment. You're not going to get to me. I'm not going to get mad. I don't even need your money. Your $5 is nothing
Not
to
to
me.
mention, you have
And then,
no idea
but
what
then
I
they
put in
have
your
no
soda.
power. Like they lose their power over you. So they can't do anything at that point because you're not going to piss me off.
No, my trainer
Yeah.
always said kill them with kindness because we can't really do anything else legally. So we'd have to, the people that were the biggest dicks, I would be the most nice person back. And by the end of the, usually, not always, but usually by the end of the experience, they were much calmer and a little bit nicer because they just realized they couldn't get to me. And I'm like, I really don't care if you give me $5. Like, I can do without. I'd rather you just leave.
No,
That would be
I
better.
used to say that too. My tip is you leaving. I would say it in my head,
Yes.
but I would note that like my tip is them leaving. So when they leave, I'm better. Like I don't need any money from them. They're going to be gone
Yeah,
soon.
that's so injustice to all servers out there, since you guys also share this path. I made sure, guys, to put a chapter from each training section that we all go through. Since you being the newbie, yeah, in every restaurant, the guys, because I mean, he started. So the thing about him, he started working a pizza place, and he's not confident about his skills, but he got a proposal like, hey, come to work for me. This is busier restaurant, and you can make more money here in a buffet restaurant. And then he goes to the buffet restaurant, which is a larger, server staff, and then he gets very intimidated because everybody's very fast. And then he learns to handle them, and then he goes to the nightclub, which is more hostile. And then it's also because this is perfect, like for you to get out of your comfort zone and then endure whatever you have, like of weakness in your personality, right? Because you're gonna hear shit from the guy that is training you to the manager. Like one of the worst things you guys gonna know for sure I'm talking about is to be watched, right? You go to a table, you go to like, greet a customer, and you feel like the manager's watching you, like in your back, and then he's watching all the way. If you pick up the plate, on the right time, if you make
And
the
now
guy
they're
laugh.
watching on cameras on top of it. I was a server back when we didn't have cameras. Now there's cameras in the restaurant.
Yeah, man, they come with you with cameras and with pictures also. Because I mean, I remember they made a meeting with me because I had like two pictures with eating food, man, like inside the restaurant hours. It was like, hey, Danny, we want to talk to you about this. That was like funny, but also they come to you very serious, so you don't know like what is up. But it's very eye-opening, and you kind of get, you know, psychologically manhandled because, as you said, people stomping on you, and you have to get back up. Like I literally have to talk with that guy that just said that shit to me,
Yeah.
and he like I need to do this because that was the game we were playing.
Right.
We work at this restaurant that was very high demanding, and I built some friendship there with the servers, and we all started smoking so much cannabis to handle the job, you know, that we would like just watch each other like, hey, yo, I'm gonna go to the parking lot. And this is actually in the book because I had to point this out. So this is the magic of cannabis, and when I figured that cannabis was a good thing, because how could it be a bad? So I was literally in the restaurant and I was losing my shit. Like some customers being rude to me, the manager, already talked 2 times about shit that wasn't my fault or whatever. I was, on that state of mind that you're about to break down. And then like, oh my God, I still have 3 more hours to go on this shift. I can't handle it. I would go to the parking lot, 2 hits, come back. And then when I was coming back, it was like slowly kicking in, and you can feel the change, So there is a change of mind, there's a change of pace in your body. It's all very positive. And the guy, literally 5 minutes ago, I was talking to this guy. My head was, "Brrr." Now I'm talking to this guy. I'm like, hey, man, can I take this plate away from you? Is everything okay? So I put a chapter on the book literally about these assholes because I remember this very clear. These guys, so as a server, you get all this knowledge, right? You get like all this John Wick power that I feel mentally. Like, because I remember this guy was like, I knew they were assholes from the moment they walk in because it was a warm night in Florida and they all were wearing turtleneck sweaters. And I'm like, what the
Wow.
fuck?
That's
Like
awesome.
you look at them like, what the fuck is up? And then yeah, you go to greet them. This is actually in the book. this interaction, this whole interaction. Because like, hey guys, what can I get you? And then I came back with the drinks. The guy first question was like, let me ask you, why my friend's drinks cost $3 more than mine? I'm like, oh, because he ordered a double and you order a single. And then he was like, there is no excuse. You know, that's kind of stupid things that they say to you. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
what? I
Yeah,
made
like you
sure.
wrote the fucking menu, like you made the prices, like it's personally your fault. That's where you have to
Yeah,
disconnect as a server. Like I didn't make any of these rules. You're a fucking retard if you think I did. Go somewhere
yeah, yeah.
else.
You gotta explain that. You gotta stop. And then I make sure like, so this is to all servers out there. There is a chapter in the book, guys, that actually reveals our secret. You know, all the things we have to go through because he literally dealing with this guy and what are you gonna do about it? You know, that I literally said to him, I'm gonna suggest you order a beer next time, man, because you know what the fuck, you're gonna drink a shot. But he was, you know, of course, not to be, you know, rude with vegans, but they were all vegans. And then like, your
Shocker.
menu is not very friendly to vegans, is it there,
Faggots.
sir? And I'm like, bro, I'm like, and then I was like, okay, I'm losing my mind. I'm gonna go in the parking lot. I went to the parking lot, I smoked a joint, and then I came back. And then I was like, in the book, I explained this very clear and neat, so you feel like, oh man, cannabis helps you with this, is this, because I was pissed, and then I came back. What was behind those eyes now? I make this question in the book. What was the feeling that was happening inside my body? Because I was in front of I call it the squad of assholes. I was in front of the squad, but I was fearless now. You know, so they were like, so what can you recommend to me that is vegan here? And then I was like, hey man, don't worry about it. I will personally make any changes you make. I will tell the chef myself. So tell me, what can I get you? So I was being very friendly, you know, as you said, I'm gonna kill them with kindness, but it was a kindness that was being, you know, patronized by cannabis. So it's
Yeah,
like a
it
different.
changes your whole vibe too. And if you want to think about the energy field around you, it literally
Oh,
does. And I felt that too, where I would do the same shit. I'd go out to the parking lot and be like, I need a 10-minute break, boss. And she knew exactly what I was doing. I go out there,
uh,
come back in, and it was a whole different world. And everybody responded differently as well. It wasn't just that I was half
it's
high.
like
It
there's a
was
release.
Because you
everybody
stop
acts
feeling
different all of
attacked.
a
You stop
sudden.
feeling like
Yeah.
it's a personal attack because these people come in and they make these claims or they'll do something dumb. Like they'll have the menu in front of their face like this and then ask you how much something is, but
Yeah.
they don't really tell you what they're looking at. And when you're like, what are you, can I see what you're talking about? And then they expect you to be a psychic or to be able to see through the menu, whatever it is, whatever those things are, it's because of you though. It's almost like a PTSD thing, like you're saying in your book. We have those perceptions because of something that happened to us in our lives. Why would I
Right.
assume that? And then why would I also feel upset that they're upset at me? I shouldn't be. I should be like, dude, I can't see what you're pointing to. And that's okay. But we aren't. We aren't okay with that. All as people, as a collective, we're like, well, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I can't see through the menu. Why is she so mad at me? I might not make money. I need this job. Like all of those things that our society puts into our head. That's why we react that way. But when you go fucking smoke a joint, all of that shit goes away because you realize none of it matters. So you can be the nicest person, like, hey, I'm super sorry. I can't see past that menu. And you stop feeling attacked. When you stop
Yeah.
feeling attacked and stop taking it personally, it's so much
No, and
easier.
I learned to be just brutally honest with it too. And I found out that that is definitely the best way to be because you're straight to the point. Might hurt their feelings. They might get mad, but doesn't really matter. You said something that was true. So fuck off. So
Uh,
like that scenario where they're like, how much is this? And they're just looking at the menu. I would just straight to the point. I'm like, what? What
uh,
thing are you looking at? I can't see what you're looking at.
So I was 9 months
tell me.
pregnant when this happened to me. So I served until 2 days before I delivered my daughter.
9 months?
9 months and yeah, like right there. Like my last day was a Sunday. I delivered my daughter on a Tuesday and I was waiting on this family and they were so mean to me and I was pregnant and I couldn't smoke weed and I couldn't
Oh,
do anything and I needed the money. So I waited on them and my hair was, I didn't have a hat on obviously, but I brushed my hair aside like this. Like I went like this And then I went to take their order, and the lady yelled at me for touching my hair. She said, "Do me a favor. Don't go like this." And she like rubbed her hand on her face and her hair. "Don't go like this when you're taking my order. That's unsanitary." That's what she said to me. So I'm pregnant, 9 months. I mean, I'm right there. And I was like, oh my God,
What
I
did
don't
you
even know
do?
what to say. What a
Fuck off.
fucking bitch. I will tell you what I did. It's the one time I fucked with someone's food the entire time I worked in the service industry in 7 years. I never messed with anyone's food because you really don't do that. But I did this time because I was too angry and I couldn't smoke weed and get over it. So I went in the
Listen,
back.
yeah.
I went and I gave the table away to my friend. I said, "Hey, can you please take this table?" Because we all had a camaraderie where we'd help out. If someone was being mean, we'd all switch up and be like, "I'll take this table. I got you." She took my table for me, and they all ordered water. And the lemon, she's like, "Do they want lemon in their water?" And I said, "I don't know. I can't remember." And she dropped the lemon
Oh.
on the floor, and I picked that lemon up and I threw it right in that bitch's water. And I said, "I don't care." And then I took the lemon out of the water and I rubbed it right in my hair, right where she told me not to touch. Where I would have
Oh.
touched her food with that, I would have washed my hands anyway. It doesn't matter. I was about to touch a computer and type in her order, which is also unsanitary. She just doesn't fucking know. So I took the lemons, rubbed them all in my hair, threw them in their drinks, and I served that fucking shit. But that's the only time I ever did that because that's ridiculous. I can't
You
push
need
my hair
escape.
behind my ears. Yeah. Did you ever mess with anyone's food?
Okay, so one time I let this guy drop the food and then put it back on the plate and then serve the food.
Hell
You
yeah.
know,
All
so
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
first of all, everybody who's worked in restaurants has done that at least once. That fucking happens. Sorry to people who go to restaurants, but that
yeah, I
does
mean,
happen.
yeah, because I was literally like, come on, man, I remember this guy, and not to be like, this was the first time, I have to say this because that was the first time that somebody from the Bahamas was rude to me, but that was definitely because I'm gonna say Bahamas because it's part of the story. I went to the table, and this guy, this was a Mexican restaurant I was working at. So the guy comes to me, he's like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" And his wife was already there, so she had a drink already and etc. He's like, "Hey, what can I get?" She was like, "I'm looking for my drink that is not on the table yet." And I'm like, "You just got here." And he's like, "And I also want a pepper." I'm like, "A pepper?" "Yes, I want a pepper." And then he did this. I'm like, what is this? What exactly, you mean by
Oh
this?
my God. I love server stories so much. This is great.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm like,
We can
what
relate.
pepper? And then he just looked at his wife, was like, "Babe, tell this man that I want a damn pepper." And then she looks at me, speaks in Spanish, and I speak Portuguese from Brazil. I speak a little Spanish, of course, but if you do that to a Brazilian, think that I'm gonna understand Spanish because I look, Colombian, whatever, it's just gonna piss me off. And then I look at her. I don't understand what you're saying because I mean the tense, the tension on the table was very palpable. So I was let it go. Like, fuck this tension. I'm not the guy. And she was like, what she said in Spanish to me was like, "You want some habanero sauce?" I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then in my mind, I'm like, "Why is he fucking talking about pepper?" And then I like, "Why are you calling habanero sauce from like you calling habanero sauce pepper, bro?" And he was like, "Listen, man, listen, I'm from the Bahamas. You should know. People from the Bahamas call habanero pepper." I'm like, "Oh my fucking God, are you serious right now?" Like literally, I was like, "You got it, man." I just went away, and I was like, this kid was about to put the habanero into the because you order corn on the cob, and he want to eat it, the corn on the cob with the habanero. The corn on the cob slightly because it's very moisty, with the butter. Butter
Yeah.
and mayo, man. It's very, and then it slided off from the plate, and I was like, "Oh my God, that was perfect!" Like it was right into where the Mexicans leave all the dirty rags, the
Ah.
rags they clean. I'm like, "Oh my God!" Then he was like, he was like, "Mierda," the food runner. I'm like, "No, no, no, it's okay. Let's put this. This is useful as fuck right now. Let's do it." And then he started laughing and he drops at the table, and then it's like, "Oh my God!" And then at that moment, it's just so if you never, if you're there watching, I was never a server. This is the most fun you can get as a server. You're literally watching the guy eat something that he doesn't know what it is, but he could have been more safer.
Yeah,
Because he
by
was
not being
just
a
being,
dick.
yeah, it was like, dude, This story, this happens every day in a server life. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
Oh
ridiculous,
yeah.
stupid questions, right? Things that. So in the book, guys, one last thing about it is like in the book there is. So I go from the guy that was getting trained to the guy that trained people because I become more experienced. So you see the whole shebang as a server in this book, and then he start training a newbie called Tony, and Tony. He was a millennial, the TikTok generation, etc. He took it a lot of Adderall, and he didn't stop to think about the things he was really saying. And this story I made sure to put in the book because I was looking for somebody at the time to take my place on Saturdays because I was closing every Saturday. And if you want to close every Saturday, it's great because you make money, but you leave at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Like, dude, I'm gonna let you close. I'm just gonna talk to Tracy, the manager. Jesus Christ, I shouldn't say her name, but whatever. I'm just gonna talk to the manager, and just don't do anything stupid. And then he's like, okay. And then I'm walking, my section that night was close to him. And I'm walking, I'm cleaning a table, and I start walking in the direction of the station. And then I hear his dialogue with the customer. And Tony, he's very honest. Like the guy was like, I pick it up at this. The guy was like, what the fuck is that pineapple doing in my taco? And Tony goes like, yo, because I mean, Mexicans, they have this taco called El Pastor.
Yeah.
This taco comes with pineapple and pork. So Tony says, bro, you order a taco El Pastor. That's it, a taco El Pastor with no modifications. And then the guy was like, yeah, bro, I'm an American. There's no way I'm eating pineapple on a taco. And then Tony says, so you want me to fix this or you want to keep eating that? And then the guy's like, you can go fix this because I'm not gonna fucking eat your mistake. It was something like along those lines. I'm like, God damn it. And Tony said, okay, I'm gonna fix this for you so you're gonna be happy. But before you leave this place tonight, read the menu of the place you're gonna order the food instead of placing, a guilty on a server. I mean,
Hell yeah. It's like
I'm not
stuff that you
100%.
want to say.
Yeah, I'm not 100% being just to this story, but it's something along those lines in the book is, much better written and
Oh,
clear.
Hell yeah.
But like I remember feeling like, God damn, Tony, because I mean he finished good, and then because I mean this part that he says that he was literally leaving the table with the plate, and that would be like a perfect job, a perfect professional serving job. Like, oh, he didn't interact with the bullshit, but it's so good, man. You just give a little answer, it makes you feel human again. And the guy is like, what the fuck, just bro, you gotta go out if you like just being rude out of nowhere. You gotta pay, bro.
yeah.
Somehow.
And anybody who's worked in restaurants is going to understand all of this. And we could probably
No,
do
fuck yeah.
server stories forever because I worked in restaurants for like 10 years as well. But dude, tell everybody where they can find you in your book, and we'll put the links in the show notes.
Thank you, my friend. So, guys, my book is available on Amazon. So, who would have thought a server with PTSD story? It's about a guy with undiagnosed PTSD that is introduced to cannabis, and then he starts becoming aware of himself and changing his life. It's available on Amazon. You can find me on Instagram, Daniel Ryder Diaz. Daniel Ryder Diaz with S in the end. I'm Brazilian, not Mexican. So, Diaz in Brazil is with S. And you can find me on TikTok as well, Daniel Ryder Diaz. I'm always talking about, what is going on in the world, about, fitness, about mindset, and about nature. Those are my main passions. And I also have a second book coming out in June. And we're going to keep in touch because I'm going to keep writing about this. I like these stories, these characters that people, we do not get addressed. People that live this hard life and they overcome all the odds, just for a simple living. The noble savage that I talk about. We're gonna do whatever we gotta do, but we're gonna leave some crazy shit behind, man.
Hell yeah.
That's
Well, I
it.
think like usual, the main message is life is going to be a lot easier if you aren't a tremendous piece of shit.
A tremendous piece of
Right.
shit.
Just like Charlie
Ooh.
says. Well, Daniel, thank
Right.
you so
Is
much.
this on audiobook as well? Do you have an
No,
audiobook
so
version?
I'm coming up with the audio version out around August. That's the best we can do right now. I'm so sorry because I don't know if I'm gonna read it. I don't know if my voice is attractive enough to read my book. So I have to find somebody and then go through the whole process. because I love writing. I love doing this is my passion, and I think is what I was born for. But it's a lot of money, man, and I do everything by myself. So I right now I quit the bartending, the server life because of the crazy hours. You cannot stay that game, because if you want to have a life, bartending and serving is so bad for you because you do not have a schedule. You have like so PTSD wise, if the last restaurant I worked, we closed at 9, which was nice. It was like goddamn 9 o'clock, I'm gonna be home.
Yep.
But dude, if you came in at 8:45, I was already knocking my fingers like I'm gonna kill this guy. Like I was that level, because you literally like you cannot work the emotions anymore. And now I work on the book. I stay home most of the time because I'm writing the second one. And I do some gigs here and there, shovel mud, I paint houses, and I scuba dive. I do
Yeah.
scuba diving classes here in Orlando, Florida. And that's the thing my book is about too. I want to show people about Florida because man, Florida is a paradise state. And I don't think anybody knows about this. Because you talk to Americans, I mean, a lot of Floridians know, but whenever you think about Orlando, you think about Disney and all the things we have here. But we have a lot of nature. We have springs, Disney, Genie Springs, Devil's Den, Blue Springs. Those are springs that I relate in my novel, with the experience that he is discovering himself in nature. So
From what I heard, every white person over 70 knows about Florida.
Absolutely love Florida. I always look at properties in Florida. I would live there in 2 seconds. I would live in the Orlando area, like Orlando, Kissimmee, or Tampa, or Pensacola.
Right.
Beautiful
Yeah,
places.
very nice. I live in Winter Garden now, and it's paradise for me. Like it's so quiet, people here are nice, and you have the springs here, you have beaches. It's perfect for me. So I come from Brazil. It's tropical as fuck, so here is home.
Well,
It's home.
Yeah.
you heard it here from Daniel Diaz. Florida has bitches and beaches.
But it does have bitches, man. The bad are always here. They say, whatever happens in Miami, it never happened. All right, guys.
That sounds like Las Vegas, but yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. We will keep in touch and let us know when your new book comes out, and we will have you back on to promote that too. And everybody have a happy Easter weekend. That's tomorrow if you're listening to this now. But we will catch you guys next week.